What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what... Dave's doing? What you doing? What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off.
Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Good afternoon and welcome to the 361st episode of the Alfa Insurance Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. Today we're going to reset on this past weekend's spring playoffs. We have soccer going on, baseball, lacrosse, tennis. And so we're going to start with tennis and soccer. We'll get into baseball and lacrosse later on. And then we will talk about which days this week are going to be which rounds and when the championships are going to be coming. But let's start off just with some general Georgia topics. And the first one is going to be the NFL draft. So every single year, it's always exciting to look at the 256 picks and then break down how many came from the state of Georgia, not the University of Georgia, how many played high school football in Georgia. And this was a trend that really started getting tracked around 2010. It was the first time I ever saw someone keeping track of this. And Georgia was usually around the 17 total picks, and they were typically about third behind California, Florida. They were usually even with Texas. Well, starting about 2014, that's when Georgia, I believe, had an all-time record, and they actually hit more than 20 draft picks in consecutive years. Well, now posting more than 20 picks is basically the average. I think the all-time record is 27. But if you do the math, 256 picks, 27 from the state of Georgia, that means 1 out of 9 picks in the NFL draft played high school football in Georgia. This year it was slightly less than that. It was 23 total out of the 256, and obviously that's going to continue going on. And not only is that an impressive number, but if you break it down even further, Georgia's been dominating the first rounds, the second rounds. This year, though, was a unique trend, and that was tracked in a great breakdown on the Georgia High School Football Daily. It says most of the state's 23 NFL draft picks were not elite high school prospects. So that is very intriguing, because when you're a 5-star, that's supposed to pretty much guarantee that you have the physical traits and the future to end up going in the NFL. But these are guys that might have developed later on, switched positions, but nonetheless they were hardened and forged by playing Georgia high school football. All right, so while the NFL drafts 257 players, only 6 of Georgia's 23 were rated as 5 stars as high school players. The 23 had a median national prospect ranking of number 669 entering college. So they wouldn't have even averaged in the top 247. In fact, 4 of the 23 had 0 ratings or stars in the 247 composite, the most commonly cited source for consensus player evaluations, and that takes into account Rivals, ESPN, 247, and now On3. The most unlikely NFL draft pick from Georgia was Quantez Stiggs, who played on a 27-player high school team at Atlanta's Best Academy. And that's an interesting stat. I'm trying to think of Cole Spence from Mount Pisgah, ended up going to Vanderbilt. He played on a 27-player Mount Pisgah team that actually ended up making a pretty deep run. Also played in the Corky Kell. Unrated as a prospect, Stiggers, he's from Best Academy, dropped out of Tennessee's Lane College as a 2020 freshman without playing in a single game. On his mother's advice, he joined an indoor football league, then became the Canadian Football League's Rookie of the Year in 2023 as a cornerback. The Jets drafted him this past weekend in the 5th round. Offensive lineman Travis Glover of Dooley County and then Tylen Grabble of Wilkinson County were overlooked while playing for Class A programs in South Georgia. Each unrated prospect went on to be picked in the 6th round. Grable to the Buffalo Bills, and then Glover, he's from Dooley County. He went to the Green Bay Packers. The rest of the 23 were rated as 3-star recruits or higher, but North Murray's Ladd McConkey, Troop's Jamari Thrash, and then Lovejoy's Bub Means, all wide receivers, were pegged outside the top 1,000 nationally coming out of high school. And I always point out with Ladd, the reason he wasn't highly rated as a receiver was because he was playing quarterback while he was at North Murray. Really didn't get to see him focus to that position until Georgia took a chance on him. Georgia's best high school prospect drafted was Buckley County's tackle Amarius Mims, the lone 5-star of the 23. The Bengals took Mims with the number 18th overall pick after his 3 seasons at the University of Georgia. Mims was also the only AJC Super 11 choice to be drafted this year. No other former Super 11 players were taken this year. And he was a Super 11 in the year 2020. Two other 5-star prospects and Super 11 players who would be eligible, Cedar Grove's Jaden Hazelwood and Marietta's Eric Gilbert, both state champs during their time, have never been drafted. Each was an all AJC classification player of the year after leading their high school teams to state championships. Gilbert's Marietta teammate Kamani Vidal was the number 949 overall player in that 2020 recruiting class, and he was taken in the 6th round by the Chargers. Vidal measured in at 5'7", nearly 5'8" at the combine, and he was overshadowed on a great Marietta team despite rushing for more than 1,500 yards. He rushed for 1,600 yards that's last season at Troy. And Kamani Vidal was a very valuable piece to that state championship run. He actually participated in one of the best Corky Kell games, I think, in history, and that was that wild game between Marietta and Rome his senior year. That was one of the best games I've ever seen. Georgia's 2 second-round picks were just 3-star recruits out of high school. Both were safeties. That's Baldwin's Javon Bullard. He went to the Packers, and then Stars Mills' Cole Bishop went to the Bills. The final Georgia player taken Saturday was Michigan linebacker Michael Barrett of Lowndes. He was a 3-star prospect and high school player, but as a quarterback with more than 4,500 yards and 2,500 rushing before he switched to the defensive side. The Panthers drafted him 240 overall after he won a national championship, starring as Michigan's defensive captain. Georgia's 23 picks are roughly the average for the past decade. Okay, and I said the record was 28. The record is 30, and that was set in 2022. And then this year, Georgia did rank in the top 3, but they were number 3 among the states behind Florida, who came in with 30 picks, and then Texas came in at 24. So overall, is another great year for the state of Georgia. But when we look back at this year in particular, it's the fact that we only had 1 5-star, and a lot of these guys were basically underrated, no-star players that ended up playing at smaller schools. In the case of Ladd, led them to their first ever region title. College took a chance on them, and now they are playing on the biggest stage. So I thought that was very exciting. All right, so let's go to a quick breakdown of the tennis state championships. They have until tomorrow, this is for boys and girls, to complete their quarterfinals rounds. And then that will obviously set the stage for the semifinal matchups. Among the teams that have already played, I only saw one, and that was Lambert, and they have already advanced. This is the Lambert boys. Let me pull this up real quick. Where'd you go? Okay. So Lambert faced Camden County. As I mentioned, the teams have until tomorrow to complete their matches. A lot of them will end up playing today, but they advanced to the semifinals. They await the winner of North Gwinnett and Brookwood. All right, so Lambert comes from Region 6. This has proven to be the toughest region in the state in terms of tennis powerhouses. Last year, Region 6 sent all 4 teams to the Final Four. This year, they have a chance to do it. West Forsyth is going to play Harrison. South Forsyth is going to play Campbell. Both of them are higher seeds and have a chance of returning to the state finals. But there will be a maximum of 3 teams from Region 6 because in the top right bracket, North Gwinnett beat Forsyth Central, and now they're going to play Brookwood in the quarterfinals. That will, I believe, be tonight. And then Brookwood ended up falling last year to state champion Lambert in the quarterfinals. So keep an eye on Region 6. And then obviously the defending state champion Lambert Longhorns are all already into the Final Four. All right, in Class 6A, Marist and Pope, that will be today. You got Riverwood and Lassiter, Blessed Trinity and Dunwoody, and then Johns Creek and Lakeside DeKalb. Last year, Lakeside DeKalb made it to the quarterfinals. They fell to Blessed Trinity 3-1. BT fell to Marist in the semifinals, and then Johns Creek defeated Marist for the state title. So all the defending champs are still in the boys 6A. In Class 5A, real quick, last year Chattahoochee won the state title over Greater Atlanta Christian won over Chattahoochee 3-0. This year, GAC is going to play Coffee. You got Centennial and Chamblee. Chattahoochee is playing Statesboro, and then McEachern is playing Cambridge. McIntosh is playing Cambridge. Cambridge and McIntosh both lost in the semifinals last season, and then you have both finalists still in it and on opposite sides of the bracket. So watch out for another Chattahoochee GAC rematch. All right, in Class 4A, North Hall advanced in a 3-2 win over LaGrange. They will play the winner of Westminster and Bainbridge. You got Whitewater against North Oconee, and then Stars Mill against Pace Academy. All top quality matchups in Class 4A boys, and then we'll close it out with Class 3A boys. Last year, that was a 3-0 win by Wesleyan over Savannah Country Day. This year, you're going to have Wesleyan playing Morgan County, top right. You got Hula Creek against Columbus in the bottom right. And checking, Hula Creek lost to Oconee County last year in the Sweet 16. And then you got Lumpkin County in Savannah Country Day. And then Mary Persons against Dawson County. So the defending champs are Wesleyan, and they will play Morgan County tonight. All right, so that's it for Class 6A boys. Now let's look real quick at the baseball before we hit the break. All right, so baseball started last week with Class, let's see, 5A, 3A, A Division 1, A Division 2. That was on Tuesday. Then Game 3s were Wednesday, and then the second classification started after that. And so they do get pretty much a week, 5 days, 6 days, whether or not they swept or not, in between these rounds. So the speed will pick up later on, but I feel like that is beneficial to them because we get to see the best starters. I mean, they aren't playing double headers. They aren't going 4 games in 4 days. So a lot of these teams swept. There were not many game 3s at all. So let's go ahead. We're going to thank our sponsors. I've got it pulled up. We'll hit baseball on the other side.
Hey, does it matter if this leaks?
It don't matter to me. Can't see it from my house.
Illegal use of hands, improper training.
GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com has 14 different highly skilled trades with tuition-free training in our certified apprenticeship programs to train you the right way. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
All right, welcome back. So let's get into the baseball Sweet 16 really quick. I'm going to check to see if these power rankings got updated this week. Okay, so they have Parkview number 1, Etowah number 2 in the power rankings, and then Lowndes at number 3, North Cobb Christian at number 4. North Cobb Christian is the only one out of those 4 that actually had to go to 3 games in the playoffs. Then you got Cartersville at number 5. In terms of these matchups, Etowah, they had the big win over Cartersville at Lake Point last month, snapping a 12-game win streak. So that's probably the biggest win on their resume. But they also have some pretty lopsided losses. They got beat by Kell. I believe that was 11-3. But they're up there at the top 2 this week in the power rankings. Let me check this other poll real quick. Okay. just a schedule. All right, so let's get into Class 7A really quick. All right, so these will be played starting Wednesday, and then Game 3s will be Thursday. This is for Class 7A. You're going to have Grayson against East Coweta. Grayson will have to go on the road. They're the number 3 seed out of Region 4 behind Parkview and Brookwood. They beat Richmond Hill 12-4, 2-0 in the first round. Definitely a solid victory for them. East Coweta, they were the number 1 seed out of Region 2. They surpassed Campbell and Carrollton late to get that top seed, and they beat Marietta 2-0, 3-1 in the first round. Grayson averaging 8 runs per game. East Coweta held Marietta to 1. We'll see if Grayson's bats are able to hold off that talented bullpen by East Coweta. All right, down in, let's see, the next matchup. All right, you're going to have Walton hosting Forsyth Central. Both those teams swept in the last round. Walton had a clutch 1-0 win over Mountain View in the first game, and then 5-3 in the second game. Thought Mountain View was probably one of the tougher number 4 seeds, but that is a pretty close result. Definitely not a blowout, but that's how Walton's been playing all season long. They don't get shut out. They keep it close every single game, and they've just found ways to win. And they're playing smart baseball. They aren't stranding runners, and they're maximizing that entire lineup, 1 through 9. All right, so Norcross, they fell to Forsyth Central. So Forsyth Central and Walton, it's going to face the winner of Grayson East Coweta. All right, you got in the bottom left on Wednesday. Definitely circle this matchup. It's going to be Brookwood at Hillgrove. Hillgrove had one of the strongest second halves of the season to get that number 1 seed. They were able to leap North Paulding, Harrison, and Marietta to earn the number 1 seed, and they did it by just not dropping any of those series. Now they're the number 1 seed. They entered the rankings probably week 8, and now they're going to play, in my opinion, the toughest number 2 seed out of any of these, because they're the number 2 seed behind Parkview. Brookwood's been phenomenal this season. They beat Colquitt County 6-5, 5-0. Hillgrove's coming off a big win over Westlake. All right, West Forsyth. They are going to play Buford in the next round, and they both swept their matchups. Let me pull this up real quick. So Buford is the number 1 seed out of Region 8, and you got West Forsyth as number 3 seed out of that ultra-talented Region 6. If you remember what I said about West Forsyth and then what I said about Buford, Buford has only lost 1 3-game series all season long, and then West Forsyth has not swept a single series all season long. They went to 3 games in every single region matchup, and so it'd be tough to imagine West Forsyth pulling out a sweep in this one, but they're also obviously very equipped to go to 3 games. I expect that one to stretch out unless Buford can handle business. All right, Cherokee and North Gwinnett, top right of the bracket, they will square off on Wednesday, and then you got North Paulding, number 2 seed out of Region 3, playing the last year's state runner-up and number 1 ranked Parkview. All right, on the bottom right, you got Decula at South Forsyth, and then Harrison at Lowndes. That'll be a long trip. Harrison is coming off a 3-game series over Carrollton, and then Lowndes swept past Newton 14-4, and then 14-0. All right, in Class 6A, number 1 ranked Houston County is going to they're going to travel to Evans. They're the number 2 seed behind Tift County. You got Lassiter playing at Noonan. I think Noonan is well deserving of a number 4 ranking. They've been on fire the second half of the season. At one point, they won, I think it was 17 out of 18 games. Haven't lost a series all year long, and they beat Gainesville 5-1, 8-0 in the first round. You're gonna have Thomas County Central and Woodward Academy squaring off. I believe that was. I was going to say that's a rematch of the football state playoffs, but no, they were on opposite sides of the semis. All right, Pope is going to host East Paulding. East Paulding was the number 4 seed that defeated Appalachia in the first round, winning a clutch game 3, 8-2. All right, North Forsyth and Blessed Trinity. That is a top 10 matchup. You got Glen Academy going to Marist. That will be on Wednesday as well. And then Habersham Central at Etowah, Brunswick at Tift County. All solid matchups. And I think 6A on paper, that is way more intriguing to me than Class 7. I think there's going to be a lot of really even series, some dramatic game 3s. All right. Class 5A. This is going to be I believe it's number 4 Ola against number 5 Greenbrier. Both are extremely battle tested. Ola coming from Region 2 as the number 1 seed, and then Greenbrier coming from Region 1 as the number 2 seed. Greenbrier is the team that has been knocking on the door longer than anyone in terms of a baseball state championship. Every year we cover it. They're in the semifinals. They're in the finals. They've come up short in some heartbreakers, but they always find a way to get there. And this is going to be a very tough one because Ola's having a historic season, coming off a big win over Northside Columbus, and then Greenbrier is obviously motivated to finally get that state title. So a great team and a great season is going to come to an end right there, and that's going to start tonight at 4:30. All right, Kell and Villa Rica, they are going to square off. Kell's a team I thought was slow to start the season. Then they had the big win over Etowah, entered the rankings. They got swept by GAC, lost a couple other uncharacteristic games, but ever since the Cambridge series, they've been looking very well. And when you can go up against a team like Etowah and get a win, they have plenty of confidence to come out there. It just depend on how they come out game 1, and hopefully they will not get in a hole, because Villa Rica, it's a team that started the season 25-1, and they've won the best records in the state. So it'll be a big time series. Kell at Villa Rica. Coffee and McIntosh. Coffee is the number 3 seed. They earned that one behind, that was Greenbrier in Ware County. They're ultra talented. They've been as high as number 3 in the polls. McIntosh has been sitting comfortably at number 6 or number 7. You're going to have Woodland Cartersville against Loganville. Loganville at one point was sub 500 after about 12 games this season. They went on fire lately, earned the number 1 seed, and they outscored Chapel Hill 25-0 in the first round. You got Jefferson is going to play number 1 ranked Cartersville. It'll be a big time matchup. Jefferson defeated Midtown 11-1, 11-0, and then Cartersville beat Chattahoochee 11-7 and 5-2. Key for Jefferson: just find a way to get to that 3rd game. Do not get swept. All right, so then you're gonna have Locust Grove against Decatur. Decatur's probably the one team that advanced in past the first round that really has gone under the radar. I haven't seen them on a single poll this season. They are the number 1 seed out of Region 4, but strength of schedule did not calculate them high up in the max preps or the poll, but they beat Statesboro in the first round in 3 games. Now they'll be challenged by Locust Grove, who fell out of the top 10, I think, in the final week of the season. But you're going to have Flowery Branch and GAC also starting tonight, and then Union Grove, the number 8 team, against Ware County, number 5. Both are coming off sweeps in the first round. All right, let's look at 4A real quick. All right, number 1 seed West Lawrence is going to host Troop. Troop is coming off a 3-game win over Shaw. They won game 3 7-0. They lost game 1 5-1, bounced back 7-2, and then took advantage of that 3rd game. Troop is the number 3 seed behind Stars Mill and where was that? Stars Mill and LaGrange. Stars Mill and LaGrange are both top 5. Stars Mill is actually number 1. Pointed out all the time, according to the Max Preps calculations, because of Troop, because of LaGrange in that region, Stars Mill has the best win total and strength of schedule formula in the state. That's why they are the highest ranked teams in the computer model. So Troop is a dangerous number 3 seed. They're battle tested, but they're going to have to go on the road to West Lawrence. So they do not want to have their season end. That's going to start on Wednesday. Holy Innocents and Lovett. Lovett has been in the top 10. Holy Innocents has not. And Lovett's number 1 seed. All right, you're going to have LaGrange against Wayne County, big-time top 10 matchup. Cedartown at number 2, Cherokee Bluff. Cherokee Bluff has fallen to North Oconee in the state championships or playoffs the last 2 years. They're trying to win their historic first, and it's been a great team. They're the number 1 seed out of Region 8, and obviously they've played North Oconee in their region, so they're very familiar with the team that's been able to take Class 4A, but they're going to have to navigate a bracket that has a potential matchup with LaGrange if they win this one against a very good Cedartown team. All right, Seconder, like Cherokee Bluff a few years ago, now they're the new kids on the block, just a second-year school. They had to battle past Pace Academy. This weekend, it was a 3-game series. They won 7-3 in the final game. They're the number 2 seed out of Region 8. But as I mentioned with them, they got the number 2 seed because they did not have to play a full 3-game series against North Oconee or Cherokee Bluff. They still were able to beat the Madison counties, the East Forsyth, and the North Halls, but they hadn't been challenged in a full series against the top teams. But that was a big win for them nonetheless, and their first taste of playoff success. So they're going to play Heritage Catoosa up next on Wednesday. Big time matchup below them is going to be Benedictine against number 1 Stars Mill. Stars Mill has not lost a series all season long. North Oconee and Westminster are also going to square off, and then you got Perry against Whitewater in the bottom right. All right, in Class 3A, these get going tonight. Class 3A baseball, it's going to be Columbus at Mary Persons, Hart County at Wesleyan, Morgan County at Calvary Day. It's a top 5 level matchup right there. 2 teams that could end up taking the state title or just advancing to the finals. You got Dawson County and Franklin County. Hebron against Pickens, Peach County against number 1 ranked Harlem, the defending state champs. And then you got Oconee County and Ringgold, and then Pike County at Thomasville. All those getting underway today. Game 1's actually going to be at 4 o'clock or 4:30, so these will be starting pretty early today. Be sure to go to scoreatl.com for the score updates. All right, in Class 2A, and keep in mind, haven't pointed out many upsets so far. These are pretty predictable at this point. There were some game 3s, but the top teams ended up holding on. So maybe we'll see some upsets in this round, but it's been pretty standard so far. Worth County against Brantley County. That is going to be on Wednesday. This is Class 2A. Redan against Mount Perrin Christian. Big time matchup. That will start at 2 o'clock. And that is number 2 ranked Mount Perrin against number 3 ranked Redan. Cook and Appling County are also going to square off in the Sweet 16. Then you got Walker against Banks County. On the right side of the bracket, Providence Christian. They steamrolled Landmark Christian in the first round. They're going to play Rockmart. You got Toombs County against Washington County. Washington County climbed in the rankings number 5. I think they've won 18 of 20, so they've not lost a series in a long time, but they did go to 3 games against Dodge County. They won 10-1 in the first game and then lost 4-1, and then had to hold off the number 4 seed Indians in game 3. Callaway is going to play number 1 ranked North Cobb Christian. And then you got Pierce County against Jeff Davis. Jeff Davis is the team that started 0-7 and has now won 22 straight. Class A Division 1, the defending state champs are Prince Avenue Christian. Last year was their first ever state title. They're going to play Whitfield Academy in the second round. Whitfield is ranked number 6. You got Bacon County against Bleckley County. Tallulah Falls against Pepperell. Pepperell is ranked number 3. They're having one of their best seasons ever. Tallulah Falls is number 7. Swainsboro and Heard County are going to square off. Social Circle and Kings Ridge. This was one of the few upsets. Social Circle over number 10 ranked Elbert County. They won 2-1 and then 10-6, knocking off the Blue Devils. All right, Dublin and Irwin County. That's another matchup that's going to get started today. Irwin County is the number 2 ranked team behind Prince Avenue Christian. So we'll see how Irwin does against Dublin. They won 10-0 and 11-2 in the first round over Lamar County. And then you got the Weber School is going to host number 4 seed Jasper County. So they went on the road and beat Darlington in the last round. It's a 3-game series. Now they're going to host. And we got a story up on scoreatl.com that was the Weber School's first ever baseball playoff victory. That's a story up there by Max. You can check out what a great season they're having and then how huge that victory was for them. And then definitely stay tuned today as they play Jasper County and actually get to host, because the number 4 seed Jasper County beat Athens Christian 1-0 and 4-1. Another result that conflicted with my rankings. I think had Athens Christian pretty high up there. All right, so Whitfield Academy and Prince Ave, they're going to play. We already talked about the Bacon County and Bleckley. So let's look at Class A Division 2 real quick. I think this classification comes down to you're going to have Sly County and then Charlton County. Those are number 1 and number 2 in every poll. But you got Bowden, they're sneaky. They're at number 4 or 5, and then Baconton Charter at number 3. At one point of the season, you had, I think it was 7 of the 10 teams in the top 10 had win streaks of 15 games or more. I can't think of many of the teams that are still in it that have lost a lot of games within Class A Division 2. You have a bunch of region champs and not too many familiar opponents. So the top 10 matchups to look for, and these are going to get started tonight. You got Washington Wilkes against Bowden. I'll start at 5 o'clock today, doubleheader. Towns County and Sly County, that's number 10 versus number 1. Sly County was the only team that had a bye in the first round, so it's another thing to look for. How do the Bobcats come out in their first round matchup? Baconton Charter, the number 3 ranked team, they're going to play Lanier County. You got Lake Oconee Academy against Christian Heritage. Ironically, the only 2 private schools left in Class A Division 2 are going to be squaring off, so that's interesting. You got Wheeler County and ECI, and then Miller County against Charlton County, and all those will be today. So we got plenty of baseball action to look forward to, and they will be starting within a matter of hours at 4 o'clock for the early games. But let's go ahead. We'll take one more quick break. Thank our sponsors. We'll be back on the other side to talk some soccer and lacrosse.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
All right, welcome back, guys. Hold on just a sec. All right, and then today I'll also have an updated track and field blog. We concluded all the region championships this last week, and then we're going to get into sectionals this week. That's going to set the state championship field. The way it works, you got, let's see, each classification is divided into 2 separate sectionals. So you'll have 4 regions in sectional A, 4 regions in sectional B, and then the top finishers in each sectional, they're going to qualify for state. So this is huge in terms of depth. Schools like Marietta, they are famous for qualifying multiple girls in the distance events. Obviously behind Mary Naismith, the fastest runner in the state. And then teams like Shiloh dominate in the triple jump, high jump, and they have actually crowded the podium at multiple meets this season with 1, 2, 3 finishes. So that will be the main thing we're going to focus on in the track blog this week. But now we're going to pull up soccer. We have the Elite 8 set in stone, and then that will be one of the first state championships. It's going to be at Mercer, McEachern, and Duluth in just about a week. It's May 7th and 8th at Mercer, May 7th, 8th, and 9th at McEachern, and then 8th, 9th, and 10th at Duluth. And it's tough for guys like Jason Longshore because he wants to call all the games, but it is divided into locations because it's the boys and girls, and so we'll probably get him on after to talk about the matchups, but he will not be able to see every single one of them. All right, so in the boys, in Class 7A, Lambert against Campbell. This will be tomorrow night. Archer is hosting Milton, Kennesaw Mountain against Colquitt County, and then Discovery against Grayson. For Colquitt County, it's going to be a tough attempt to win the state title, but we mentioned the only South Georgia team to ever win a state title in soccer is Thomasville, and so that is Colquitt County representing all of non-metro in Class 7A. All right, Class 6A, Glen Academy, they've come close to doing it, especially on the girls' side, but they're going to host Lassiter. That will be tomorrow night. You got Woodward Academy in Sprayberry, River Ridge against Riverwood, and then Johns Creek at North Atlanta. In Class 5A, it was a tough loss for Cross Keys. They came on our show a week ago Friday ahead of their McIntosh game. McIntosh is number, I believe, 6 or 8 in the entire country. Cross Keys had never beaten the Chiefs, and every single time they had played, they've lost by 1 goal. Unfortunately, they fell 2-1, so another tough 1-loss victory. McIntosh is now moving on, and they're going to host Dalton. That'll be a big-time matchup, national implications. But shout out to Cross Keys. They came up just short, but they definitely gave it their all and gave McIntosh yet another tough test. All right. Eagles Landing against Midtown. Midtown made it to the finals last year, came up short. Watch out for them. And then Cass and Tucker, and then Chattahoochee and Decatur. Tucker is the team that beat Cross Keys in overtime. I think it was actually PKs, and that's what gave Cross Keys the number 2 seed. So that loss alone put them in the path of McIntosh. So we'll see if Tucker can continue to advance, and that will give us a good idea of how good Tucker was in relation to Cross Keys. All right, LaGrange, this is Class 4A. You're going to have LaGrange against Northwest Whitfield. It's going to be tomorrow night. On the boys' side, you got Whitewater against Johnson Gainesville, and then Westminster against Bainbridge, and then Holy Innocents at Stars Mill. Great Elite 8 to watch right there. Johnson Gainesville appears to be the team to beat, coming off a 3-0 win over Druid Hills. They had a tough 2-1 win over Stockbridge in the first round, and then Whitewater has been hitting the net way more. They've outscored their opponents 9-1 in the first 2 rounds. LaGrange, the number 3 seed out of Region 4. Stars Mill took the number 1 seed, and then who took that number 2? Troop had the number 4. They ended up falling to Bainbridge in PKs. Whitewater. Okay, so the number 2 seed out of Region 4, Whitewater, they're going to play Johnson. Number 1 seed, Stars Mills, is going to play Holy Innocents. And the number 3, LaGrange, is going to play Northwest Whitfield. I think they have a chance to put 3 out of 4 in the Final Four. But the big one will be against Johnson Gainesville. All right, in Class 3A, Oconee County is going to be at Morgan County. Number 2 seed Oconee at number 1, Morgan. Number 1 seed Kalula Creek and number 1 seed Columbus. And then you got Savannah Country Day at Hebron Christian, and then Bremen at Pike County. It's the boys 3A. That will also be tomorrow. And then finally in Class 2A, Fellowship Christian, the number 4 seed, one of the few 4s to advance to the Elite 8. They're going to play at Fitzgerald. You got Pierce County at Model. Jeff Davis is hosting Prince Avenue Christian, and then Drew Charter at Toombs County. So that is it for the boys. And then on the girls' side, these will be tonight. Big time matchups. Walton is hosting Campbell. Walton came up short last year to Denmark. They avenged that loss in the last round with a 3-0 win over the Danes. Campbell is coming off a 7-2 win over Lowndes. You're going to have North Gwinnett is hosting Harrison on the other side of the bracket. North Paulding at West Forsyth, and then Hillgrove at Buford. So definitely familiar faces on the girls' side, and those will be tonight. All right, Pope against Marist. This is Class 6A. Johns Creek against Riverwood. North Atlanta at Roswell, and then St. Pius at Lassiter. Big time Elite 8 in the girls 6A. Let's go to 5A real quick. Also tonight, you got Northside Columbus at GAC, Northgate at Jefferson, Loganville at McIntosh, and then Cambridge at Greenbrier. Cambridge is coming off a 6-0 win over Clark Central, and then Greenbrier 9-0 over Harris County. In Class 4A, Lovett is hosting Perry. You got Cherokee Bluff hosting Whitewater. Cherokee Bluff's number 1 seed out of Region 8. Westminster is hosting LaGrange, and then North Oconee, the number 2 seed out of Region 8, is going to Stars Mill, the number 1 ranked Panthers. And then finally in Class 3A, on the girls' side, Pike County is hosting Dawson. Oconee County is hosting Savannah Country Day. You got St. Vincent's traveling to Wesleyan, and then Bremen at Columbus. So the girls' Final Four will be set tonight. Be sure to stay tuned for that. Most of those games will start around 6 o'clock. All right, so finally, let's catch up with lacrosse really quick. All right, so on the boys' side, we talked about last week in Class 7A, all the top 2 seeds get bye weeks because there's only 4 areas. 6 teams make it out of each area. So Walton was coming off a bye. They've actually had some tough playoff losses in recent years, some heartbreakers, but they were able to pull off an 11-10 win over Mill Creek. Definitely a nail-biter for Walton. They've had a phenomenal season. When their only losses, I believe, was to Buford early on, then a 1-goal loss to North Paulding before the playoffs. But they got the number 2 seed out of Area 2 behind North Paulding, got the bye week, and then survived a very tough matchup with Mill Creek. So now they're going to play tomorrow night at Harrison, the number 1 seed out of Area 3. Big-time Elite 8 matchup. You're going to have Marietta against Lambert. Lambert is the premier boys program. Last year they got upset in the finals by rival West Forsyth, who had a very senior-led team. They have also advanced. They're going to play North Paulding. It'll be a big-time test for the defending state champs. And then Buford is going to host Milton. If I had to just go off my gut, I would say it's going to be North Paulding, Buford, Lambert, and Walton advancing. All right, in Class 5 through 6A, it's going to be tomorrow night. You're going to have Roswell, the defending state champs, at Allatoona. Allatoona is having one of their best seasons ever. Had a 19-5 win over St. Pius in the last round. Alpharetta is hosting Cambridge. Lassiter at Blessed Trinity should be another great one. Similar to Walton, BT's coming off a 1-goal win in the last round, 10-9 over GAC. And then you got Centennial at North Forsyth. In Class A through 4A, this one also had byes. Fellowship Christian is going to play at Wesleyan. Stars Mill is going to host Benedictine. North Oconee is going to host rival Oconee County, and then Westminster is going to host Lovett. Out of all those teams, Westminster and Lovett are the most decorated, and they're going to be playing. So Class A Division 1 through 4 on the boys' side has a very good chance at least getting a first-time state champ to the finals, since Westminster and Lovett are going to be squaring off. All right, on the girls' side, Walton is going to be hosting Lambert. That will be tomorrow night. You got West Forsyth hosting rival South Forsyth. You got Powerhouse Milton. They beat Mill Creek 11-6, one of the closest games all season long. That was last week. They're going to play at home against Cherokee. And then North Gwinnett is going to play at Hillgrove. Hillgrove is coming off a bye and then beat Marietta 17-3. Real quick, in Class 5A through 6A on the girls' side, Lassiter is going to host Cambridge. Big time top 10 matchup. They're coming off huge wins. Lassiter 20-4 over Marist. Cambridge 21-3 over GAC. Alpharetta is going to host Chattahoochee on the bottom left, and then you got Roswell at Creekview, and then Pope at Blessed Trinity in the Class 5 through 6A. And then the final classification on the girls' side, Fellowship Christian at Wesleyan, Holy Innocents at Stars Mill, Pace Academy at Westminster, and then East Forsyth, very new team to the mix, is going to be at Mount Perrin. And those will also be tomorrow and Tuesday in girls lacrosse. So some big-time matchups. Expect a lot more upsets, big headlines, and we'll have all that covered for you throughout this week. Let's see. But yeah, if you go to scoreatail.com, we got last week's stories up there, the Weber one. We got all the playoff brackets, the scores. We went over the schedules. It's going to be a busy night tonight with baseball, tomorrow with soccer, and also lacrosse. And then I'll have my track and field blog out later today, and then we'll be back tomorrow at noon, and then once again at 4 o'clock with Keeping It Real with Najee Wilkins. He's going to be covering the girls' side of the sports landscape. And then tomorrow's show at noon, we'll obviously be talking some college football, and then we're going to be recapping the NFL draft. Najee is an expert when it comes to the NFL. He knows so much about it, every single angle of it. So we'll get his take on what teams came out of the draft. We'll also talk about it from the prospects' point of view, some of these guys we mentioned from the state of Georgia, and then who he thinks is going to make the biggest impact, what trends he saw outside of the ones we mentioned today with guys that didn't have a lot of stars ending up representing Georgia in this year's class. But that's all we have for today. I'm going to get going on this track blog. I hope everyone has a great week, and be sure to stay tuned for these playoff updates. See you tomorrow.
What you doing?
Hey, just finishing this claim to get Dave back on the road.
Nice. I wonder what Dave's doing.
You do your thing. We've got you covered.